What do we do that frustrates you guys?
The older guys, the more experienced guys, don't like to adapt very much.
Then also you end your sentence with, well, that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
It's not that I don't want to consider, but a lot of that is coming from someone that hasn't been around the block as many times as you have or as I have. Who's right? Is the old man right or is the young guy right? Welcome to the Heartland Multifamily Show, the shorter, more profitable path to multifamily ownership and investing. Hey everybody, want to welcome you to a special edition of the Heartland Multifamily Show, the place
For all things multifamily.
for all things multifamily. And this is a special episode. We've got a special guest here. Then we'll introduce our special guest in just a moment. But before we do, I want to give you guys some context to what we're going to be discussing today. So, of course, most of the time we're talking about multifamily, investing, ownership, management, and all things multifamily, right? Well, we're going to go down a little different road today, mainly because of who we have in our studio, and it's a pleasure and an honor to have Mr. Gary Agajanian. Now, I've never known Gary. Is it Agajanian or Agajanian?
Well, I think either way is acceptable. Most
Okay.
people say Agajanian, and it's
Agajanian?
easier for most Americans to pronounce. But Agajanian
Agajanian?
is with a little more accent. that's out there.
Agajanian? Is
Yeah.
it Agajanian like that?
Yes,
Okay.
Agajanian. Yep.
So I want to welcome Gary Agajanian to our podcast. I want to make sure I do it right. I probably didn't hit it exact, but look, dude, you're a special guest. I want to make sure we get the name right.
Great. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Oh man, we're really looking forward to having this conversation, not only with you, but with the guys and
Yep.
men, especially men our age. When we're dealing with younger people, we tend to find that the younger people seem to feel like they really know more than the older people do. Really, at the end of the day, there's no algorithm for our experience. We know what we know. It's kind of entertaining sometimes for us to have those conversations with the young guys. But then we also know the young guys run into the old guys sometimes, and they're like, dude, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's going on. You don't really know what's happening right now, especially out there, because you guys are old, right? Because you're old. So who's right? Is the old man right or is the young guy right? We'll talk about that. We'll dive into that on this episode of the Heartland Multifamily Show. All right, let's get to it, guys. Let's get right to it. Let's start out Gary, special guest. Love it that you're here, man. Great that you're here. Your first visit to Iowa, right?
Yes, my first second day in Iowa now. Yeah.
First visit to Iowa. Glad to have you. And look, I'm not gonna put you on the spot and say, okay, well, what's the most memorable thing you've gotten so far, and what do you think? And because you spent some time here, but probably not enough time to give me a real experience kind of response. I mean, you can if you want. So I'm not going to put you on the spot and do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about your business background. Talk about what business you're in. Talk about how long you've been in that business, and talk a little bit more about your background.
Great. I will. Well, I do have an initial impression of Iowa.
All right, I want to hear it. What is it?
And well, of course, it's the people. Like just coming to the airport, noticing how friendly the younger people are, especially. They look you in the eye and they say hi, just like we used to do back in California back in the old days when I was younger. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. So over there, so that is one thing I noticed. And of course, your gas prices are like $2 a gallon cheaper than I've seen in a long time from where I live. So,
do you want to like buy, rent a truck and load it with gas and take it to
yeah, I can resell it.
gas,
And
maybe do that.
I'm sure there's laws against that, but it's a lot of work. But good idea. There's always an entrepreneur. There's an idea to to make money. So basically, what I do is I'm in the wine business in Napa Valley, California. Some people consider that a foreign country when you say California, but that's another comedy we can talk about. But anyway, so I'm in the wine business. Started off as a grower in a farming family. Grew up in the 1960s, 1970s. I was in high school and started my own farming operation when I was 16. I rented 10 acres of dirt about 5 miles from
This
my...
is when you're 16.
Yeah.
You're renting farmland when you're 16.
Yeah, I didn't even tell my dad I was doing it.
Oh.
I had a driver's license and I bought a car before I was turned 16. So I already had this Ford Ranchero, and that was my first vehicle. And so I went to, didn't even tell my dad, I went to one of the neighbors, one of my dad's friends, and he had some open ground, and I leased his 10 acres and paid the guy cash, whatever the thing was, and borrowed my dad's equipment after school, and I planted these watermelon. I knew where to get the seed because I grew up farming with my dad. Since I was 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be a farmer. I just was in my gut. And so I planted this crop, and when it was growing up out of the ground, a couple inches, you got the two leaves, the dicotyledons coming out. Got my dad my ranchero and drove around this block, and I said, "Dad, what do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, okay, I see there's almond trees and grapes, and then in this little patch of these little watermelons growing." He said, "So what?" I said, "Those are mine. I planted this." He said, "What? You did? How'd you do that?" He was pretty shocked, but that was my first year of
He
farming.
had to have been blown away.
He was pretty blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he saw that and he said, then what happened after that? Did he help you out with it at all? Did he say,
he didn't need to.
What did he do?
He didn't need to. I just he let me borrow the equipment and stuff to use, but I hired my high school buddies and we harvest the crop, and I used my rancho to deliver the crop, the watermelons to 5 grocery stores in town, got cash, and made at 16 in 1976. I made $16,000. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I was 16. I made $10,000. So that was a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of money back then.
So,
dude, that's huge.
So then I started leasing more ground. I mean, I'm kind of going through the whole thing, but
yeah,
I was farming all through college, paying my way. In fact, back in the 80s, we had high interest rates. So I was getting T-bills back then, going to college, like paying my way. I was pretty blessed to have the opportunity. First of all, I thank my parents for, my mom for basically giving me the drive, and my dad for really teaching me how to work and how to farm and how to plant, how to grow. And eventually my farming became just wine grapes. And back in the 80s when things were tough, I was out of college. Just like we're in kind of right now where interest rates are relatively high. We have had all this inflation lately. We had this in the 70s and 80s. High inflation in the 70s. You remember the gas lines and all that and all that stuff. So government raised up the interest rates. Things got tough for commodity farming. So most of the growers had trouble, but I'd say about 20-30% of the growers went out of business in the 1980s, which is kind of something that's happening now again. So this cycle we're in has been here before.
We've seen it before.
Whatever we're going through now is happening before. The details are different, but it's happened before. So, so eventually my farming thing turned into, so I took a break from farming. When I was 26, I actually threw a party, said retirement from farming party. I got a job in the big city over there, the big city of San Francisco, became a produce broker. And the guys I was working for were kind of older and they didn't want to travel. So they put me on the front line. And at 26, 27 years old, I went to 17 countries to do business. So import, export, fresh produce, I didn't know what I was doing, but these guys didn't want to do it. So they put me out there. I learned real fast. So I was really blessed to be forced in that situation, right? But that experience helped me to start my own business as a middleman for wine grapes. So I came back home, started this middleman business of helping growers find the highest and best use for their grapes, like where they can find a better market, a better winery than the local guys buying. And I did that. And it actually, second year in, Another big tragedy, I had a client who couldn't pay me for grapes. A year goes by, I needed the money to pay my workers or harvest my next crop. So the guy said, I don't have any money to pay you. The only asset I have is this tank of wine I made out of your grapes. He said, go sell that tank of wine and you get your money. So I said, what am I going to do now? I don't know. How do I do that? Like, I had to get a license. I had to figure out who to call, how to truck it. Like, it was a whole new world.
Wow.
But it was a good year, and I made more money on that tank of wine than I would have made on the grape. So I figured now I've got another second item.
Whoa. Okay.
Right. So a whole new line of business here. So I got the grape business, and I got the wine business. So now that I've come around full circle, I got up to about 18 employees doing $25 million a year, and we're the largest wine grape negociant in the United States.
Awesome.
Essentially, yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's like all those downturns. And there were other ones, but I gave you the basic story. All the things that I thought were a terrible ending, life-ending kind of tragedy in business, came out to be something better.
Yeah.
I learned something. I was forced through learning something better and bigger than what I was doing. And so sometimes you got to just thank God for the blessing of this challenge, what we call a problem or a major roadblock. That's exactly what we need to get over to get to the next goal.
Man, interesting. And it all started with a watermelon.
Exactly. You gotta have it. Exactly.
Man, that's awesome.
It's my favorite fruit, actually. Still.
That's awesome.
How many watermelons can you eat out of 10 acres? I mean,
You
it's got to
can
be a
get-
lot, right?
Yeah, you can get quite a bit. You get about 100 tons.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on the variety and the year, but yeah, it's quite a bit.
How many watermelons is 100 tons? How many would that be? Like about?
Well, that'd
You
be,
think?
say, just round numbers. You're going to have about 50 to 70 watermelons per ton.
Okay.
So,
So that's what, 7,000 watermelons? Is
Yeah.
that right?
yeah.
Holy,
And
that's a lot of watermelons.
I didn't sell.
You planted all that? You planted 7,000 watermelons.
It wouldn't be 50 to 70,000?
Actual melons? Yeah. So
My math is wrong. It's 70,000?
no, 100 tons. 100 tons. Okay. I'm 70. So
Oh, that's a lot.
still a lot because I didn't really sell. It wasn't really big enough to sell truckloads because it doesn't. You don't harvest the whole thing at once. You pick it every week. You go out there and pick it every week to 10 days. So you keep picking it. So I was selling small amounts to grocery stores. So I'm hauling it around, selling it, all cash deals.
Wow.
The good old days. It was kind of the good old days. It was fun. That
Wow.
it was a lot of work, but fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Man.
that's a short history of where I've come, and I'm blessed to be in Napa Valley now, operating, selling grapes and wine to some of the really high-end wineries. We have about 700 clients that we sell grapes and wine to. So a lot of the major brands you see on the menu, we're supplying a lot of those guys.
Wow. Yeah, we're talking about some over lunch today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about some over lunch today. Okay, so in total, you have roughly how many years as an entrepreneur?
49.
49. Okay, so you got so you're almost 50. I'm going on 40. Okay, all right, guys. How many years of experience do you guys got?
5-ish, maybe a little.
5-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there-
1.5.
1.5. You got more than that. You got you're going on 3.
Well,
right?
I wouldn't call managing. And
Okay.
I would
All right.
call that.
All right, I'll give you one.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give you 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys got your level of experience. We got our level of experience. Okay. So back to where we started when I was saying sometimes we think you guys don't know what you're talking about. Young guys. Sometimes you don't think the old guys know what we're talking about. Right? So let's go to you guys first, because it's been, I've been talking, Gary's been giving his, so let's go to you guys first. In what areas do you think, and by the way, be critical here. Just don't totally throw us under the bus, but be critical. Where are guys like Gary and I, seasoned business owners who've seen a lot? 17 countries, is that what you said?
I've been to more now, but that was just in the early years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we missing? What kinds of things do we not see, whether you call it forest through the trees, something that might be obvious, maybe some things not so obvious. Guys, talk about maybe 2 or 3 things that maybe sometimes the old men don't know what we're doing or what we're seeing.
Well, let us preface with 2 things.
Okay.
First preface is to the audience, to you guys. We did not start this podcast to say they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I want that to be
Correct.
clear. This was an assumption made that we don't think they know what they're talking about. So I want to clear that up.
Okay. So you're saying we're not doing this podcast because you guys told me that you don't think we know what we're talking about.
Right.
Got it. Okay, that's fair.
Preface number 2, there are some things that I could probably come up with. Regardless, Isaiah and I appreciate your mentorship and everything that comes in store with that.
Okay. All right.
So those are my 2. Is it preface I?
All right.
So yeah, that's where we'll start.
All right.
What are some things
I was trying to think too, because it's such a hard question. There's not a lot of things that we genuinely think that we know more than you about, but I feel like sometimes when we argue over different things that come up in work, you have to kind of tell us why your way is correct, why we should do it this way, but then also along that line, you end your sentence with, well, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. And obviously you've had 30 plus years in real estate, so you know, and you've taken the bumps and bruises that we don't exactly need to take. So when you tell us something that most likely we don't want to hear or we think we do it a different way, and then you say, that's what I would do, odds are we're going to end up doing exactly what you said to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I mean by like that we appreciate your mentorship, because we don't really, we take it true for your word, you know, if that makes sense. And we both understand that. Now this might not be the case for everybody, but we're both under the assumption that you know more than us, and so it's easy for us to follow along and, you know, get on the Darren train.
Got it.
But if I had to choose something,
Yeah, let's go. Let's get something out.
let's start with, and I'm sure this is the same for you, Gary. I would imagine neither of you have really had to do a lot of like the heavy, dirty, gross grunt work in a while, right? Like really minute.
What's your definition of that? Give us like some examples of what that would be.
Well, from Gary's perspective, it'd probably be, I don't know how you grow grapes. I have no goddamn clue, but probably something along the lines of, you know, planting or picking or something. I have no idea. And maybe Darren would be like, you know, the old, really shitty 1860s fourplex or something, or duplex or something like that. So like, because you've prestige from that, you've grown from that, like you did that, you know, 30, 40 years ago. And maybe not so much anymore. So you're a little distant from the dirty work. Not when I say dirty, I'm not saying you're not grinding hard and getting your hands dirty, but I mean like the stuff that you don't want to do, right? And so then inherently, you know, that's what the newcomers do. They take on the shitty listings, or, you know, handpick the grapes. You know, I don't know, but so.
Let me interrupt you. What would be some of the grunt work things in your world, Gary?
That you haven't done in a long time.
So the things that I did starting out, but I don't no longer do anymore. Okay, well, first of all, picking grapes is one thing. So, like actually cutting the grapes off the vine, and then when you're making raisins, you're laying them down on trays, putting them on the ground. That's actually, it's very dirty work because you get sticky, it's hot. It also gets humid, even though California's not humid. When you're in that grapevine and it's a big vegetal plant, you know, it's humid. And there's gnats flying around and bugs all going up in your nose, and it's dusty, dirty. You're getting wet and sticky with that grape juice, sugary wet, and you're all sticky. It's miserable work, really hard. So I've done that. And then watermelons, harvest is hard too. You got to cut the melon off the stem. You got to lift these things and put them on the side and then load the truck. I mean, I've done all that for years too, not just like, oh, Gary did it one time, I'm the owner. No, I did it for years. I did that stuff until I could hire people to
No,
do it.
has like technology or technique changed on any of that?
There is some technology now. I understand that the modern melon grower will have a conveyor belt and it's going over the rows, and the guys will just have to lift them on there. It'll get them into the truck. The grape harvest used to all be done by hand. Now it's about 80-90% by machines. So one machine takes essentially five people to run. You got a driver. You've got two guys driving the tractors with the gondolas. Sometimes you have guys behind making sure everything's picking clean. Some machines are so good now, you really only need three guys to run it, and that replaces 100 hand pickers.
Really?
Or more. It replaces 100 people.
Wow.
Which is a good thing because we don't have those people anymore as much as we used to.
Right. The people that want to pick, you mean?
Right.
Gotcha.
It's hard. Of course, there's no American really wants to do that work.
Right.
So
I don't.
it's the new immigrants, and even those, many of the new immigrants, if they're coming over and they get in illegally, let's just say, they're coming in for the freebies and the welfare of this country. The ones that come here to legally work more on purpose. And I've actually we're getting this whole nother subject. You want to get into I've talked to farm labor contractors. Most of them are Mexican. And, I'm thinking they don't like the immigration policy because they want these people coming in. I said, no, they want the legal ones. They don't want the illegals because those illegals don't work. They don't show up. They want the cell phone and they walk around and they don't do the work. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit off of the subject you were asking. But I've done everything from driving truck to loading, unloading, every aspect of my business I've done. But yeah, of course, the last 10, 20 years, I've got enough people to do a lot of that frontline stuff. So I'm, actually, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm more administrative now. I'm dealing with the higher level decisions, the banks, the insurance companies, legal stuff, some of the sales, some of the bigger sales, and just making final decisions, signing contracts and checks. And it all sounds easy, but I miss the front line, actually. I miss the interaction with the clients and being out in the field and driving around and being in the vineyard. And it's like nowadays businesses, you're stuck in front of a computer screen and doing spreadsheets and writing emails, which that's personally I don't like as much. So trying to find a way to go to the next level, have someone else do that where I can get back in the field. I want to go back to farming.
That's like, what was the book, The Fish That Ate the Whale? He just loved to be in the jungle.
Yeah. Zamuri.
Yeah.
Sam Zamuri. You heard of Sam Zamuri?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Banana King?
United Fruit Group.
Oh,
He
okay,
purchased
yeah.
that.
All right.
He didn't purchase it, but
That's right. I've heard this story.
Unbelievable book. So Trot, are you saying that because we're not doing the grunt work as much, that are you saying that's we're out of touch kind of with what's going on in today's world in regarding grunt work? Are you saying
I don't know if out of touch is the way, but that maybe you're just not as knowledgeable of it because it changes so much, and since you're not involved in it, like for example, like in our world, a lot of the paperwork has changed and the rules and all that have changed. But since you're not as involved in it, maybe you're not as knowledgeable of it.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a couple of examples that I've that's been right in front of me, just some real estate examples. One is, so we're in the process of selling this HUD project-based Section 8 property that we own. Okay. So as far back, well, not that far back, but we bought it 12 years ago. And we put it under contract in September and we closed that following February. So how many months is that? 6 months, maybe 5, 6 months, something like that. Okay. So my frame of reference is that in terms of HUD project-based Section 8 transaction time frame. Let's just put it that way. So today, 12 years later, we're looking at selling that property. it's going to take almost a year to get done. A year from the date it went under contract to the date it closes. Okay. So my first reaction to it is, what's going on? Who's dropping the ball is my first reaction to it. How in the hell should it take? How could it take that long? Somebody is obviously dropping the ball here in the chain of, A to Z on how it needs to get done. Well, what I found out is that's just the way the world works now. It's the way it is. It's the way HUD operates. It's the way the transactions operate. I'm talking to an attorney, the attorney working with us about it, and she's like, well, yeah, the average transaction time frame is about, 300, a little over 300 days. I didn't know that. No idea. Why didn't I know that? Because I wasn't in doing that grunt work like he said.
20 years ago,
In 12 years. At the time.
20 years ago, if someone
I
asked you
haven't done it
when you
in
started, how long
12
is this going
years.
to take me to sell, you would have, like that, you would have
I would
known.
say 5 months tops.
Yeah. And just since you're not in it, and actually the young lady that's, representing you for that one, she probably, just because she's in it, she would have been able to tell you
Well,
right
and
away.
she's thinking, what's your problem?
Yeah, right.
Why are you getting all grouchy?
Right.
It's kind of the way it is. That's an example. Here's another example, at least from my world, is 2017, we had March of 2017, funny, I know the exact month. We had a whole bunch of, Gary, when I say the word shenanigan, you know what shenanigans are? You guys know what shenanigans are? We had a whole bunch of shenanigans going on in the company with our management personnel, okay, regarding money and fraud and all that kind of crap. So it was at that time I really had to dive in and really internalize operations big time, okay? And so prior to that, I was doing a lot more things on the capital side, capital raising, for example, and all things kind of around capital raising, brokerage too, getting property available in terms of inventory, working on getting more inventory across on my desk. But in 2017, I had to go full bore into operations. Okay. Well, I spent 7 years full bore operations. Got to get that right. Right. Well, guess what I'm out of touch with now a little bit, since I've been spending 7 years just on that. Capital raising stuff. That universe and that world has changed dramatically over the last 7 years. Now, not that I don't know what was going on, or I'm totally, of course not. I know what's going on, and I know, but in terms of the breadth of the changes, some progressive, some not progressive, the breadth of changes, it's taken me a little while to kind of catch up again, because my world was operations for many, many years. So I kind of get that. I mean, I kind of understand in terms of, Gary, you got anything kind of related to that you can think of that maybe you've kind of pivoted and spent more time on, and there's some other areas that you're not quite as, I don't know if I use the word skilled, but skilled at? Maybe
I would say, since I've got more into the middleman business of buying and selling grapes and making wine, the actual farming practices, I know the basic viticultural operations that happen and the timing and what needs to be done, but a lot of the chemistry of what you got to spray and what's allowed and not allowed and how much and when. I mean, I'm a little bit off track on. I really, had to really just farm. I could do it, but there's probably a lot for me to learn about what are the new laws and regulations going on around pesticides and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be one area. As far as my day-to-day business, it may be just the relationships with all the clients. I mean, before I could basically have it all in my head. We had 20, 30 clients. I really knew everybody really well. Now we've got over 600 or 700, and I got a team that actually calls them every day. So as far as relationships go, I know who they are, they know who I am, but I actually haven't, especially since COVID, when you stop doing a lot of face-to-face meetings, like I lost touch with a lot of them on a personal basis now. And now I'm finding myself having to go back in and helping my guys with some of the sales because the market's been a little tough the last few years. So I've got to get reacquainted with most of these guys. But my daily mindset is office admin, computer spreadsheets, all the admin stuff, and I don't go in thinking front line of attack is helping my guys with sales. And so I'm a little bit, every day is a little bit like, which one do I go for first? And there's, kind of more demanding than I thought it would be. So.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got a couple more ideas, or it's one idea with an example, I guess. A lot of times, not you two specifically, but a lot of times from, the younger guys' perspective, the older guys, the more experienced guys, don't like to adapt very much. Like, they have something they work on when they're 30, and they try to do it the same way through the end of time. So one example I think of is like, I don't know how many times you guys have heard like the older guys say, the handshake's just as good as a contract. And so they still keep doing business like that. And then, when guys our age get to it, and you're like, no, like that's like the scariest thing you could ever see. And I've seen it bite people in the ass. And another one is in Illinois, you can have slot machines in your bars and your gas stations, all that stuff.
Is that's still the case today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is fine, but then they have another kind of gambling thing, and it's just ticket games, it's pull tabs and stuff like that, and they're illegal, and they were illegal 30 years ago, but there was no commission to regulate that 30 years ago, and so when I was involved in a bar, and one of the older guys wanted to start selling pull tabs, and I was just like, no, we can't do that anymore. And he's like, well, why? We did it 30 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I agree, but there was no commission. There was nobody was out to get you 30 years ago. It was just illegal, but nobody regulating it. And so then we got to a point where, we were getting ready to do the pull tabs, and then, somebody else got busted, another guy got busted, and then we're like, okay, we're not gonna do it anymore. But, it's not always the case where 30 years ago is the same as now. So
yeah, that makes sense. I was talking to a young man this morning on the phone, and this guy's dad has owned a business 30 some years probably, and the conversation I had with him is he was wondering how does he have a conversation with his dad about maybe starting to think about things in a different way, okay? Because he's been doing it, like Trot says, the same way for a long time. And it's worked pretty good. The results pretty much speak for themselves. And one of the reasons why I think at least guys my age are resistive to change is what I just said. It's got us to where we are now. It's what we know. It's got us to where we are now. The second part of it is not, it's not because something is new and we don't want to consider new. That's not necessarily it. I mean, you're not resistive to looking at doing something new, are you?
No, I think we got to embrace that. I mean, whatever the new technology is, we got to be on top of it, or else our competitors will be way ahead of us. So.
Yeah. So, but here's what it is. Here's what it is. At least in some part, and it relates to what we're talking about. Part of it is the older guy, I'm using me, taking the word of the younger guy that we should do something different when the younger guy doesn't have as much experience in the area that I do. See what I mean? There's a difference there. It's not that I don't want to consider it. It's not that I'm resistive to change, but a lot of that is coming from someone that hasn't been around the block as many times as you have or as I have. So because that's the case, there's more resistance to the change. There's more resistance to it because, well, I hear what you're saying. It kind of makes sense, but, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the results from you in that capacity yet. with what you've done and how you've done it for me to go all in on that. Does that make sense when I say that to you guys? Yeah. So it's not like you're resistive to it. I mean, sometimes they may say something to me, I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. We're not doing that. Are you kidding me? But some of it is because kind of makes sense. I might want to think about it, but I'm listening to guys that haven't been there, done that yet. So does that kind of disqualify it for me? Sometimes no, sometimes it, but what it definitely does is it does delay the thinking in terms of maybe doing something new or trying something new. Because I got the track record, you got the track record, right? They don't have it quite yet. So, maybe it's best just to kind of wait and see.
So you kind of, so if Gary or let's say I approach you with an idea, and you're like, oh yeah, we'll see, maybe. And then Gary approached you with the same idea, you'd probably take it more serious coming from
100%.
Gary. And that's probably the right way to do it, no doubt. Unless whatever that person is like really skilled in one thing or whatever. But
yeah. Well, let me give you a real example. So one of our property managers, he's in his mid-20s. Okay? He's got some management experience, actually a few years of property management experience, but he's in his mid-20s. And he's recommending that we change the lease structure at one of our properties. This lease structure has been in place for years. For years. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I think we might want to consider changing that. Well, I haven't said, okay, yeah, let's do it. I haven't done that because of what we're talking about.
Did he say why and what are the advantages?
Of course, and it makes sense. So yeah, and it's something that I'm considering. Of course, I'm considering it. It's one of those things that I am considering, but it is definitely not, okay, that makes sense, let's do it. Not yet. Because of what we're talking about.
Here's an example in the wine business that could, like, let's say the scenario is one of my guys came out here, one of my younger guys, and he does a trip to Iowa. And he notices when he's just in town or talking to someone or someone at a restaurant or something, I'm finding people like sweet wines out here. They even tell you. Even at the party last night, because I'm in wine, what do you make, what do you like? Yeah, some people, I just drink red wine. A lot of people say that. But around here, when they say they say sweet. I mean, back home, they don't say the word sweet because it's like almost embarrassing, like that you like a sweet wine. Because in the wine world, in this hoity-toity wine world, if you say sweet, it's like, oh, you don't understand wine, you like cheap wine. But the reality is, most people talk dry and drink sweet. But over here, they're okay with saying, I'd rather just sweet. Some people like that heavy stuff. I like the sweet stuff. So if one of my guys came to me and say, hey, we should sell wine in Iowa because they like sweet wine and we know how to make it. We got the right growing conditions. I know the growers. We can easily make that. What the young guy doesn't know is, well, we got to find a distributor. We got to be licensed. We got to be able to deliver it and distribute it. Like, there's a lot of steps. So what the experienced guy will already think is all these steps I got to go through to get this thing done. It's a great idea. I agree with it, but how do we have the infrastructure? Are we ready? Do we have the infrastructure and systems to deliver that new idea? So that's where we got to start. We got to talk about it and study it a little bit before we pull the trigger and just go for it and start spending money and time on something that maybe we're capable of or not. So, and it's where maybe it's just more about communication, between both sides and see how it can work out.
I'm having a hard time trying to think of like a real scenario of where we think we know more than you.
Well, let me ask you the question this way. It's probably easier. What do we do that frustrates you guys?
Here's my reason why. Because every time we think we're doing something right, you point out a reason of how, or we have something come up that's going to happen we think is going to be the end of the world. We go to you, you tell us exactly what to do, what's going to happen, and then literally word for word will play out exactly how it happens. And for a lot of that, this year's success compared to last year's success is us obviously kind of getting better and mastering some of the stuff that you showed us and taught us. But at the end of the day, what we've been doing, going off of you doing what you tell us to do, but sometimes go a different, not a full different route, not a 180, but still kind of stemming off from that main point or that main set of skills that you showed us are continuing to work. So I'm trying to get a real scenario of when we think, even if we think that we're right and what we're going through and what we're going to do is going to be right, 99% of the time, whatever you say ends up being right.
That's a pretty good percentage, Gary. 99.
Wow, that's very impressive. I think we should. I think it's time to end the podcast. We got to work on a high note here.
Everything that we've gone through this year, you tell us how it's going to play out, or if we need help on something, we don't know our next steps, what to do. You tell us what to do. You help us reach that goal of what we need help with, whatever that scenario is.
Yeah, but that's blocking and tackling, though. I guess I use that term. That's blocking and tackling. So let's think outside of blocking and tackling for a second. Trot, you look like you got something you want to say.
Yeah, there was a marketing flyer you wanted to send out that we scratched.
Yeah.
Because even though you liked it, we hated it so much that we scratched it.
Which one was that?
I'll go grab it. I'll be right back, everybody.
You're gonna actually go get it?
Yep, I know where it's at.
Well, this was an issue apparently.
Yeah.
Well, that's even my point, though, is like the marketing flyers that we send out, you tell us what you want on them, but then we add more stuff to it and then just go a semi-different route. And then the feedback we get from apartment owners ends up being good, but it's the main message that you wanted to put on top of it. That's what really pulled them in.
Oh, you don't like that one?
No, I hate it. And it might work, but this is the one where I just decided to say, no, we're not going to do this one here, everybody.
You might want to go back a little bit. There you go. Keep going. Go back a little bit further. There you go. Is that the Lazy Apartment Owner's Guide?
Yeah, it wasn't this one specifically, but it was the same setup with just different name or different titles.
You
and
didn't like
stuff. No.
Why have you told me this before before now and I just forgot, or what?
I don't know. I don't remember, honestly.
Okay, so talk to me why this is a good example. So that's something I thought we needed to do.
It was, I remember the context behind it was we were supposed to build this same flyer for the biggest owners that we could think of.
Okay.
And Isaiah and I couldn't, we might be wrong, we very well could be wrong, but we couldn't comprehend, the big institutions wanting to receive this and even giving a flying shit about it. And so we were
With
like,
my little cartoons on there.
yeah.
You don't think Blackstone would want to get a little cartoon flyer and dial and pick up the phone, or what?
We have not heard back from Blackstone. we talked with JP Morgan,
Yeah.
but we haven't hit the Blackstone yet.
No?
We still got to get
Okay.
there.
All right.
So yeah, I would say that's like the one thing that we haven't actually listened to you about this year.
Yeah, we've taken our own ideas with the flyers and then obviously designed them how we want to and the information, but most of the ideas have stemmed from flyers that you've told us to get ready
Okay, so
for.
let's talk about that. So the flyers let's just say direct mail. The direct mail that you have sent, that you have changed, has it outperformed what I was recommending we do? Yes or no? With your changes. So you guys made changes or wanted to do it your way. You sent the direct mail out to people. I'm talking flyer stuff, not some of the other stuff. Flyer stuff. Are you getting better response on that or my stuff?
I think from compared to last year to this year, the way you would have flyer set up is you would have us do a really bland flyer with not a lot of call to action.
Yeah?
And this year I feel like we've dove more into what's really going to grab them to give us their contact, why they're going to give us their business.
So you've kind of overridden my template. You've installed some of your own into the template, and you're saying that it's performed better. Is that kind of what you're telling me?
I think so.
Okay, Trot, would you agree with that?
It's basically the same content.
Yeah, but you've moved the chairs around a little bit better.
I suppose.
Okay.
I don't know what it was like before, I guess, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
It's hard for me to compare it to what it...
Have you had anything like this, Gary, where you had something cooking and going, like some marketing stuff, and the young guys have maybe done some things to make it a little bit better that maybe you wouldn't have maybe thought of, or you wouldn't have done?
Yeah, I would say that we do twice a month do an email broadcast to our clients and potential clients, and they've actually, the younger guys have taken over really writing it. I give them ideas and content, but when I used to write it, it would be the real, basic, here's with the big picture, what's going on. maybe a little bit of detail what's happening locally, but they've gotten better at just really identifying what the clients are looking for, what the real trends are, because my sales guys are getting the calls every day, and then actually I used to lead the market and make the market in our business, but now I listen to the young guys. Okay, what calls you getting? What samples are people? What variety? What flavors? What regions? Like what wine and grapes are people looking for? And we can see these trends happening. I have to ask my guys now on what's happening, but we can see the trends way before the press does in our industry, because we're actually getting orders from the people making things happen. So it's still, until there's enough activity of whatever wine's moving, the press doesn't pick up on it. We're always 6 to 9 months before we read about stuff in our wine news. So, but the younger guys are a little bit better about those details because they're in that front line every day. So,
and I think they are, from a evolution standpoint. So, if you look at the apartment, multifamily ownership, investment world, whether you're active investor or passive investor, okay. Obviously, there's evolution going on there's younger people getting involved as owners, younger people getting involved as either passive owners or active owners. There's just younger people getting involved. And the main reason why that is because of my age, right? So there's younger people getting involved. And so these guys are able to communicate in better resonating way than I can with them.
That's a good point.
And since that's evolving, I think that's a big part of why they're getting the kind of results that they're getting. Okay. But if you're a client of mine, Gary, and you come in here, you're going to resonate with me better than you're going to these guys. I think that's the case more often than not all the time. So I think a lot of it has to do with how time goes by and how the business has evolved too. In terms of, you guys are right on, and what you guys are doing may not make sense or makes a hell of a lot of sense. I might not be right on. And I think a lot of that has to do with how things are evolving. And it's a matter of, I don't want to use the word balance, I guess, but I will, balancing all of that so that you're getting the most out of what the young guys bring to the table and the most out of what the old guys bring to the table.
Maybe the word is integration.
Integration?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Integrate.
Yeah.
The
Guys,
new with the old.
does that make sense with what I said, or am I off base on that?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think a lot of times, like, we come to you when we are dealing with somebody, anywhere over like 45 years old, because it's harder for us to communicate, even though a lot of times it's not necessarily the like what's going on is the problem, is how do we communicate that to somebody.
Yeah.
So like, we've done some deals with some guys that are between 24 to 35, and when something comes up, it's easy for us to communicate because we know how they want to be talked to, and the right storyline to use, the right words to use, and stuff like that. But when something pops up with an older guy, okay, the relationship is a lot different, and the expectation's a lot different. And the same goes with like marketing too. Like, you two want to be marketed to differently than us two would want to be marketed to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Why that is, I don't know.
Well,
but
probably especially with what we pay attention to too, from a marketing standpoint. So keep going. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're probably paying different amounts of attention at different things than you guys are.
Well, it's different, like programming, but it's also how the ads are portrayed as well. So it's like you find your advertisements in, well, maybe not you two specifically, but the older people are in like Facebook and cable television, stuff like that. Whereas like our age, it's more, Instagram, social media, and YouTube,
100%.
and all that stuff. And then within there, most of the like cable TV, especially like news channels, commercials are like, super bland. Here's what it is. really easy storyline, whereas like on the social media ads, it's all like comedy based, and you know, they try to make you laugh, try to make you remember it, and yeah, so the marketing is a hell of a lot different too, for everybody.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Gary, let's kind of wrap up this episode. I've learned a lot actually in this episode.
Oh, good.
From these guys.
Well,
yeah.
All right. We should do this more often.
And you too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm learning about everything multifamily.
You are.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's like-
this is the place of
Yeah,
all
it's-
things.
All things are.
Multifamily.
Everything is.
If you would have any one or two, I'll just say, words of wisdom, and it doesn't have to be just one word, by the way, words of wisdom for, let's say, a business owner, future business owner, about working with younger people, younger guys, younger women, whatever it is, knowing what you know now, what are a couple things off the top of your head that you think would be good to know based on your experience?
Based on my experience, I mean, one of the things I know instinctively is, of course, if you don't change, you're not going to remain competitive or growing. You always want to be growing your business to whatever the new things are, and that's been around since the end of time, and it's probably getting more critical with AI and things going on, with everything moving, information moving more quickly. But always be ready to adapt and adjust to new market conditions, new relationships with people. Always be willing to learn, and we're always, as a business owner, you want to learn and know about the new things happening so you can adapt them, because your people can bring them to you, but you've got to get your head around it, really understand it before you can really lead the team to that new venture, the new learning, the new whatever it is, the new software, a new way to make calls or whatever it is. So always be willing to learn, adapt. What's the cutting edge would be the cutting edge, right? See those market opportunities. But I also notice is if you're in a growing company, you're always recruiting people and you're always recruiting capital. I mean, not that you're always hiring people, but you're always seeing who's out there. You're always, I remember when I was younger, these older business owners, they were in the produce business when I was there. And these guys would take me to lunch once in a while, and they weren't hiring. They weren't they were just looking at what I'm doing and kind of monitoring my growth and see if I'm a potential candidate to come in their company one day. And so I've done a bit of that with a lot of the younger people I've hired. I already knew them before we hired them. In fact, 90% of our people that we hire are from within, not only our company, within the industry, are people we know. So even though we do put out ads for every job opportunity, 90% are people that we've already knew. We're already kind of grooming them. So you're always grooming your talent, your people. And it's not just skills. You can, as you guys probably have learned, you can train skills, you can teach skills, you can learn skills. AI probably knows you can teach you every skill you want to know, and between YouTube and AI, you can learn anything. But the work ethic and the consistency and dedication, it's something you have to experience, right? You can't just teach that, right, necessarily. So that's what you're hiring. You're hiring work ethic and authenticity and character. You're hiring character, and the skills and the details about real estate can be learned and all that. So that's what you're learning. But also, as a business owner, one of the mistakes I made was when I was growing rapidly, making enough money to hire new people and grow and expand and more inventory and bigger, I was just using my own money and some borrowed money from the bank, but always paying them off every year. So basically self-funding my whole business. And one of the things that could have make it grow and bigger is really bringing in partners when I was really peaking. Because you've got plenty to share, right? You think you don't need it because you're making plenty of money, you're growing and expanding. But that's the time to recruit the capital, is when you don't need it. Yeah. And then you could have this bigger thing. One of my goals is to grow a company that can be basically run on its own. So I don't want to really sell my company. I want to have it big enough and with the right people and management that can run on its own. And, you know, I'm fortunate where I can at least come on trips like this and be gone 2 or 3 weeks and still run a business remotely. But, you know, if you can, what's the Robert Kiyosaki thing he wrote in the 4 quadrants he talks about?
Is it Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah,
Is
okay,
that it?
okay, that's the second book, it was the quadrants, but the first one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So small company is where you own your own job, right? You have I have my own business. You're a hair cutter or whatever you do. You're really the worker, and so you own your own job. The next level is a small business where you have some employees, but you're still working your butt off. In fact, when you have a small company, you're working harder than when you work by yourself, because now you're not only doing a lot of the frontline work and sales and admin, you're training people to do the work. So the next level is that mid-sized company where you have enough management and people where the goal is not only that your business can run without you, but you could take a year off and it'll grow without you. So that was like, you know, something I read about years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't got to that point yet, but that would be a nice goal to meet
That
in
would
our
be.
company, that you could do that. So,
Yeah.
but I love what I do. I love the action. I actually kind of love still operating a business where someone could call me, an old grower friend or some guy trying to create a new wine brand, and say, "Hi, Gary, I want to do this, I want to do that." And since I don't run every aspect of my business alone anymore, it's like, oh, great, okay, yeah, I know exactly who to hand this guy off to. You need the North Coast Napa grape guy, or you better talk to my winemaker. You're going to create this wine, talk to Harry. He can put this blend for you, like boom. So I've got a team that I could bring in and let's play the game, you know, and it's not all me. Otherwise, I'm working 16 hours a day. I don't want to put another 3 or 4 hours in each day. So,
Yeah.
so I'm very
Yeah.
blessed to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Guys, let's put it to you. What would you talk to younger guys about in terms of working with, you know, guys like Gary, guys like myself? What kind of things would you say to guys your age that are looking to be or are in the same kind of position that you guys are in?
I'd say mentorship matters more than you could possibly imagine. Who it is, what they're doing, how much they actually give a shit about you. That goes a long, long way. And just like anybody, they're not going to be right every single time. You know, if it's 95% of the time, just take their word every time and go from there. And then, you know, find an old
Sure.
head. Is that what we're calling them now? An old head?
You could say, yeah, an OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can do that too. Yeah, try to find a good mentor, find someone that cares about you to do it, cares about how you evolve and in your career and everything like that. So
I'd agree. Take the back seat, not fully, but, you know, take up everything you can. I know people always say, oh, you be a sponge. Well, be a sponge. The more you soak up, the more you ask questions, the more you get involved, the more you ask for work that might not even be yours. That if you show that you can take on other tasks, you'll slowly go trust. And like Trot said, the mentorship, if you start working with that person longer and longer, they're going to trust you more, give you more opportunity to really show yourself.
Makes sense. Well, guys, Gary, appreciate you being our special guest on this episode. Thank you for joining us. It's been great having you in Iowa. Hope to have you back here again soon, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Great to see you, great to have you, and great to have you on the podcast. So thank you for joining us. Guys, good stuff today. Good feedback. I think this was a good episode, especially when, you know, you got the young guys doing their thing, you got the old guys doing their thing, and we're working together. And it can sometimes be a little bit challenging, but I can tell you this, it's a hell of a lot of fun too. Hell of a lot of fun.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
so.
glad you've been here, guys.
Appreciate
Thank you. And I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Heartland All Things
Multifamily
Show. The place
The place.
for
Multifamily.
all things
All things multifamily.
All right.
All right. We got it.
Glad to have you, Gary.
All right,
Guys,
brother.
thank you.
Good to
We'll
have
see
you.
y'all later. Bye-bye. If you want to get your hands on more great multifamily real estate content, make sure you click here. If you want to invest passively in great multifamily real estate, make sure you click here.